All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. We're back, and it's season 3, episode 1 of Philly Comedy Club and Last Out Media's The RUS GUTIN Experience on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcasts. And it's time for another edition of Album and Podcast of the Week. It's a joint segment, and this week we have an amazing guest. His double album, SHULOGY, which is 2 sets recorded in one night at New York Comedy Club, one sober, one wasted. You know him from the last 15 years of being an amazing cast member of the Howard Stern Show on Sirius, and now he has stepped out and moved out on his own from Astoria to Alabama, and he has the most amazing new podcast, The SHULI Show, that you could subscribe to, that has just absolutely taken the podcast charts by storm. Over 600 5-star reviews so far, and it's only been up for a few weeks. And tonight we're going to play a clip from his Wasted album, from his double album SHULOGY, and then he is going to join us for an interview live from his car because he's opening for TJ Miller in Huntsville, Alabama at Stand Up Live. So please, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for a clip, one of my favorite bits to watch, listen to off stage of all time, from SHULI Egar's album, SHULOGY. Give it up. Middle seat on a plane, ladies and gentlemen. Put your hands together.
One last story, we're out of here. I'm so shit-faced right now. This is ridiculous. I don't even know what I'm saying. I'll tell you one thing. Oh, great. All I've been doing is new stuff. This whole album's ruined. This is all... No, I'm kidding. I love you guys. Thank you for coming out. I think, listen. I don't care. Listen, I don't care who you pray to. I don't care who you voted for. I think we're all good people when we start in life until we are tested in life. And by tested, I know you know what I'm talking about. Yeah? Yeah, having a middle seat on a flight. That's a test. Especially if you get there before the other 2 assholes show up, right? Because now, I don't give a fuck who, you could be a priest, but everybody coming down that aisle, you're shit talking in your head. I don't care. You're just sitting there going, no, 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 no. Is he wearing sandals? Oh my God. What is that, eczema? Oh, Jesus. And I'm sitting there doing that, and then my seatmates show up. Orthodox Hasidic Jewish couple. No worries, my people. I got this. I got this. I turn on the charm right out the gate. I tell them, I go, you two look very happy together. You probably have a lot to talk about. So if you two want to sit together, I'm fine with the window or the aisle. Right? That's some smooth shit. And she looks at me and she goes, I prefer the window and he likes the aisle. So I put the earbuds in and I go to sleep after takeoff. I wake up after about 30 minutes and the husband is standing in the aisle and he's staring at me and his arms are out because he's handing me a baby. Baby that they did not have when we took off to the sky. That's the first piece of this little CSI I'm trying to solve. When did Delta start renting comfort kits to people during flight? And I take the earbuds out. He'll go, hey, excuse me. He doesn't say I'm sorry. He goes, hand the baby to my wife. And I go, no. This is exactly why I asked if you guys wanted to switch. So we wouldn't be involved in each other's lives like we are. And he looks at his wife and says to her in Hebrew, not knowing that I'm an OJ, original Jew, not knowing that I still speak it fluently till this day, and also not knowing that I've been waiting my whole fucking life to catch somebody talking some shit. Oh yeah. So he says to his wife in Hebrew, he says to her, "Ze lama ani soneh otam," which translated to English means, "That's why I hate them."
Whoa.
Right? At first I was like, whoa. And then I was like, what are you mistaking me for? Exactly. You know, I'm not an Asian math whiz sitting in between you two. Pretty simple math. And then I realized I gotta answer this motherfucker back in Hebrew, right? Right. Like, what better way to let you know you just fucked up? I'm so angry. I just opened my mouth. I don't even think about it. I just go, what translated means, why don't you go fuck your mother in her asshole? Did I jump a couple levels? Yeah. I'll give you that. You know, I'm not a good waker-upper, right? You give me a cigarette before you throw a kid in my fucking face. How about that? I'd never used that phrase in Hebrew before. In English, you know, I drive in New York, so I fucking throw that out twice a week. But I've never thrown that out in Hebrew before, and I learned something, man. I learned it's powerful. It is. I can tell you one fun fact that happens. Little babies go back to wherever the fuck you rented them from pretty quick. Yeah, here's another thing that happens. Nobody in your row has to piss or shit the rest of that flight. They sit there like fucking gargoyle statues on a building. I couldn't lit a cigarette and you'd have been like, use my hand as an ashtray. It's fine. I don't care. You guys have been great, man. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being on the album. Keep it going for Casey, Mike Cannon, Ian, everybody. Brandon Sagalow. Keep it going for everybody, man. Thank you so much. And keep it going for New York Comedy Club, guys. Thank you.
SHULI EGAR, everyone!
Now, Shuli is running slightly behind because he has to run up and close the show that he's on. So I am going to click another clip from Shuli. He just has to go up and say goodnight. This one is called Butterfly Farts. I don't remember this one.
8 years.
Enjoy.
2 kids. Do you play video games? You look like a gamer. You do, right? You know how I know? I play video games. Yeah. And I look at my wife and I think to myself, she's got to be disappointed in me, right? I sit there with a headset on, I went and bought a $200 headset the other day with a fucking surround sound, Dolby, with a microphone that can pick up a butterfly farting from across the street, right? That's how fucking lame I am. Just so a 12-year-old call me a faggot, right? Yeah. That's great. Oh yeah. Glad I invested $200 in this shit. Kid's like, you suck. I know I suck. I got a thing called a job, you asshole. The fuck? I'm so lame, I get into whisper arguments with him. Yeah, because my wife's sleeping in the same room. So I'm like, oh, I fucking suck. I got news for you. You fucking suck. That's me, 45 years old doing that. I tell you, fucking, I was playing the other day and this kid fucking starts talking shit and he goes, you sound kind of old to be playing video games. And I'm like, I am old. Like, I can buy a plane ticket, motherfucker. That's how old I am. Guess how old I am? I can find your IP address, old. That's how old I am. Fuck, and guess what? I'm so old, I'll knock your fucking teeth down your throat. And then from upstairs, my wife's like, could you stop for 5 minutes and take out the fucking trash? And that wouldn't have been a problem unless I didn't invest in a $200 headset that had a microphone that could pick up a butterfly farting across the street. Of course, this kid heard it, right? And the next thing he goes, who's that, your mom? I was like, kinda, yeah, kinda is.
So, TJ Miller is still on stage, so we are going to bring up another clip. This is the narrator is talking to us from SHULOGY.
Russ.
Wait, no. Oh, is that you, Shuli?
It's me, buddy.
Oh, we did it! Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up.
Yes and no.
No, yes and no?
Yes and no. He's still on stage, but I feel bad that you're vamping, and so I'm here at the club in the back of the house, getting on right now, so at least I can jump on with you and talk to you for a little bit. Can you hear me all right?
This is great. Yeah, no, and it's almost like a radio show. We can go to another clip when you go back on stage, and then we can go back to you. How does that sound?
Sounds great to me, pal. How you been?
Oh, I've been really good. It's amazing. Your story is amazing. So, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Shuli.
Woo,
Shuli.
You guys should just keep playing clips. I'm not going to be funnier than those.
No. I mean, listen, you've never sounded better. I mean, it's just amazing. The album is awesome. I got to listen to all of it at once the other day. I know a lot of the stuff, but the stuff I hadn't heard and the moments that are off the cuff are absolutely... they're
the second show was definitely a lot looser than the first. That's for sure.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, I was just going to say, it's interesting to hear the same joke done twice, but two completely different ways based on the frame of mind that I was in.
And the frame of mind, you could tell that the openers were in the room. I know other comedians' laughs, so I was like, oh my God. I mean, when you say talk about a room cooking, that room was cooking with fucking grease, my friend.
It was great. It was great.
So this is what I wanted to ask you. Actually, I'm going to change up the first question a little bit, but in terms of the material on Shulology, which, like we said, is 2 sets in one night, one sober, one wasted. And again, I think it's just like, how did nobody ever do this before you? That's just such a genius idea. But my wife had a great question that she proposed that I asked you, which is, which do you think you were better, sober or wasted?
I like the wasted version better just because it's not as polished and it's relaxed, and I'm talking to people in the crowd, and I'm doing bits that weren't supposed to be on the album. But they're both really good. But I personally feel more comfortable with a good little buzz on. That was more wasted than I go up on stage for sure.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a 9 o'clock a kiss vibe, my friend. That's where we played in Atlantic City. What a crazy situation. So you had that energy, you had that everything. Everybody, we're all ready to go out after. I just absolutely loved it. So this is my question. How easy or hard was it to convince New York Comedy Club to let you do this on purpose?
I mean, it wasn't difficult. Emilio is, that's my home club in New York. I love that club. I love the people that run it. Everybody from Amy to Scott to Emilio to all of them. They have such a great club, and it's without a doubt pro artists. They support and comedians like I've never seen before. They're developing. I mean, it's a farm system that's developing such heavy hitters, man, that are going to be big names in a few years, and some of them already are. So for them, like, it was my dream to record at their club. That was my spot in New York. I loved it.
Well, yeah, and I performed at it when I was like 19 years old. I mean, it was falling apart. What they did
Yeah.
to it and for it, and even someone like Eagle Witt, who was
Yes.
going on late night after me. And I mean, look at that kid. He was in that picture I posted of us today. I mean, they called
Check
that
spot.
shot years before, and he's going to be like the Troy Polamalu of comedy.
I remember seeing him do the check spot one night, and I took him on the road with me. Like a week or two later, I took it because as soon as I saw him, I was like, "This kid's amazing. He's really good."
People just love him. There's something about his smile. My wife has seen him live. There's something about him that you just instantly feel like you're hanging out with him. He's just like, he's this, I don't know, ethereal being in a way. I don't know how to describe it. But this is what I was going to ask you. Now, Shuli, speaking of which, I've been lucky enough to work with you in New York, in Philly, in Atlantic City, okay? And over the last 5 years, the first time I worked with you, former guest on the show, James Mattern, a.k.a. the Commissioner of Comedy, a.k.a. Bubba, he put in a good word for me. And you and I, are you about to go back on stage?
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay, cool. And he put in a good word for me, and you and I hit it off from the jump. So it was comedy kismet, and we've been cool ever since. And as a host and MC, the thing that I like about you is your sort of ease on stage. You sort of stand right in the pocket, whereas I run around like my head's on fire, like a chicken with his head cut off. You stand right in your spot, right in the pocket, and you're just a machine. And your material lands with every kind of audience we've played to, and you have so much of it. So my question is, with Shuology being a double album, was it still hard for you to sort of make the final cut, decide what makes the final cut of the album?
Yeah, one, it was difficult just because you're married to these bits, but the other part that makes it difficult is having to listen to yourself over and over again. And there were days where I'm just like, can't I just let somebody else make this decision? I don't want to, I'm tired of me. But I don't mean to interrupt. He's closing up here in about a minute. So I'm just going to jump off for a second. And then as soon as I'm done closing the show, I'm coming back to you from my car, peace and quiet. I'm all yours.
No, this is great. As a matter of fact, why don't would it be a good idea? Maybe I play another Shuli clip. Would everybody like that?
Yes.
Yeah, I would
think
love
that
that.
would be great. I think that would be absolutely incredible. So let's do that. And I wanted to end Ready Player One are two of my favorite movies, so I can't believe that you're even there. Watch Real Good Down There, or the narrator is talking to us.
Narrator's a good one.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. I love that one. Okay. Enjoy, ladies and gentlemen, and he'll join us in a second after he closes.
I get pressure to quit smoking pot from my wife.
Oh, this is it.
And I don't blame her. I mean, there's signs. I smoke every day, and there's signs that maybe I should tap out for a little bit. You know, I had the munchies the other day. I'm in the kitchen trying to open this box of cherry pie. And after like 2 minutes, I step back and I reassess the situation. And that's when I realized it's not a box of cherry pie at all. It's a box of Reynolds Saran wrap. That has a picture of a cherry pie on the box. I mean, you got to be really high to think any part of a pie, no matter how you cut it, is going to fit in a saran wrap. That's one sign. Maybe I should tap out. I don't know. I'm thinking about it. I did it. There's stuff that I'm going to miss. You know? There's stuff that I already miss. What I really miss, I miss getting stoned. This is back in the day. I would get stoned, and I'd be up super late at night, and these fucking infomercials would come on, and these guys would scare the shit out of you to buy this stuff. They just scream in your face. You know, Billy Mays was the greatest You guys remember Billy Mays? Fucking OxyClean! Remember that? Fucking maniac. It was insane. He fucking, remember when he dropped dead? And everybody's like, did you hear Billy Mays died? And They found cocaine in his system. Get the fuck out of here. Billy Mays, the guy on TV at 4:27 in the morning, screaming till blood vessels pop in his face about a potato peeling glove. You're telling me that guy had cocaine in his system? Nice try, buddy. I'll wait for the medical report to come back on that. I'll tell you, in my mind, this is the scenario I have in my mind of Billy Mays. He'd be in his dressing room, right, with a line of cocaine on his dresser that would go all the way out to where they need him to stand on the set. Because somehow that's the only way they get him there, right? And he'd be in the dressing room just waiting for the knock, and nobody knows why, but he'd be in Olympic sprinter starter blocks, just cocked and loaded, ready to go. And then the knock would come. They'd be, Billy, we need you on set. Let me tell you about Jupiter Jack! Can you hear me? In other planets we can hear you, brother. Shocking. His heart exploded? Wow, I didn't see that coming. Shit like that I already miss. Especially fucking hanging out with my idiot stoned friends and you know, getting so high we get locked into a goddamn cheetah documentary and we can't move. Especially when the narrator's talking to us. You know, every fact is right. The cheetah is the fastest animal on Earth. How fast do you think it goes, man? The cheetah can reach speeds of 85 miles per hour. You drive a Hyundai, right? A Hyundai can reach speeds of 65 miles per hour. It's a piece of shit. If you drove a cheetah to work, bro. You'd never be late, brother. I know that. What I hated about the cheetah specials is the anti-pot commercials in between the special that would fucking scare the shit out of you when you're high. 3 a.m. This driver was killed in an accident because he was under the influence of marijuana. Get the fuck out. We've all driven behind, you know, stoned. You're not setting any land speed records, okay? You're not fucking hauling at. Let me direct the commercial. I'll do it accurately. Here's the commercial. This driver hit a sidewalk. Deployed his airbag. And laughed for 12 minutes. That's pretty much it. Nobody died. He broke his glasses, but it was just really funny. You had to be there. Back to the Cheetah Show. What I don't miss is sober people fucking with me when I'm high, taking advantage of us in the vulnerable state that we're in when we're stoned. I remember having friends go, just went for a pizza. It's pizza. How hard would pizza be, right? It's very hard when the person on the phone took a Homeland Security course and decides to fly up my ass with questions I'm in no condition to answer. Right out the gate, you know, this lady's like, "What are your cross streets?" We're on 24th Street and 2nd Avenue. Are you on the west side of 24th? I don't fucking know. Look out the window. Are we on the west side or something? Is there a sign? I'll tell her. We have a red flag on our mailbox. Do you know where that is? Sir, do you live on the west side or the south side of 24th Street? I don't even think you can do that. I'll ask her. What side do we need to be on to get the pizza from you? We're so hungry, please. My friend Leon showed up. He's got a cheetah. We'll be there in 30 seconds. See how we did that? See? Wow, I am drunk. You know how I know I'm drunk? That shirt's starting to look good. I'm like, I'd wear that. I'm like, I'd wear that. I'd wear that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, he is back after closing the show at Stand Up Live in Huntsville, Alabama. Ladies and gentlemen, SHULI Egar is back with us, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you for your patience, Russ. I appreciate it. Sorry about that, buddy.
No, this is great. I love it. I love getting to play all these extra clips. I always used to, you know, it's one of the ways I discovered stand-up was on the radio and satellite radio and all those great things. So this is cool because I love your album and I love all of your material. So sharing all of it is actually even better. So what I want to do is I want to pick up the interview kind of where we left off. So I'm going to sort of set the table for everybody. You and I, what I was actually, okay, so no, I mentioned that. All right. So what I was going to say is, Shuli, is that you and I know each other as comics, but I would say a lot of people do know you from the last 15 years where you were a cast member on the Howard Stern Show on Sirius, where you were tasked with shepherding and harvesting the beloved Whack Pack for Comedy Gold. Okay. You grew up listening to the show in the 80s and 90s like people like me did, but you ended up being on the show doing sketches, segments, impressions, appearances in the real world. Okay. And you gave your entire life to the show, as you know. But now you have actually moved on, stepped out on your own, moved all the way from Astoria to Alabama, and you have your excellent new podcast, The SHULI Show, which I was lucky enough the other day to get to listen to pretty much all the episodes at once, and especially the first episode, which I truly loved. It's where you told the whole story of how this came to be, and you ended up where you are, and it was just incredible. If an episode of a podcast could be cinematic, I would say the first episode of your podcast is this amazing story. So, assuming that people can listen to it or have listened to it, I guess my first question for you is, having listened to it and been inspired by it so much, what would you say has been like the best part or the most rewarding part of rolling the dice and betting on yourself?
I mean, it's been the response, without a doubt. It's been the feedback from people and the support. And, you know, I didn't necessarily go about it the right way as far as putting together a podcast, planning it out, having all the shit logos, everything, all this stuff. I said, you know, I knew Howard wasn't going to talk about it. It's just not what he does. And I knew that a lot of people would want to know what happened. What I didn't know is, you know, how people felt about me on the show, because you're in this vacuum in that world where it's kind of tradition and part the rite of passage for people to hate on you and to give you shit and to bash you all the time. So for all these people to come out and write, you know, wow, this is a huge loss to the show, and that's a show that was like everything to me growing up as a kid. So for someone to even put me in the same sentence as that show, much less to say it's a loss to that show, was mind-blowing to me. And everybody that came out and supported me on Patreon, you know, it was the first thing I put together before I had one episode out. My mortgage was covered for the month. You know, that's how much people came out to support without even hearing
about your
anything.
junk, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you know, so that for me was an eye opener, and I'm like, okay, we gotta hit this full steam ahead. And the coolest thing is just there's nothing that, if I want to do it, I can do it now. And there's nothing I don't have to answer anybody. I don't have to get permission for this. It's my shit now, and I love it. I couldn't be happier.
Oh, that is absolutely the coolest answer, because the story about your journey, I was going to say, while I was listening to it, I was starting to take notes so I can get good questions. But then I ended up just taking, like, literally, it says 97 different points of reference. I mean, it was like a TED Talk for comedian, you know, dumbasses like me. I couldn't believe how you just said, you know what, Shuli is the man, and Shuli's gonna do what Shuli's got to do. And even
it's the same way I started with stand up, right? Like for me, I've loved it my whole life, but I think I was 19 or 20 the first time I ever went up, and the only reason I went up is because I said I would rather fail horribly at this and never do it again for a second than to be 60 or 70 and think, what the hell could have happened if I would have tried it? It's scary. I normally was not the type of guy at that age that would face my fears, but something about comedy, I had to try it, and it did go horribly wrong the first time.
Yeah,
and
but
many
you're
times
in Vegas,
after that.
right? Yeah, and also I love that part of the episode. I started young, just like you, and but when you said that when you first got called to go for 2 weeks, it was just supposed to be for 2 weeks as kind of an audition to go there for the Stern Show, and then you had to go into this studio with really just 4 people, and other people would be intimidated, and you had found out we're intimidated by that, but not you, because you said this great line that I wrote down where you said, I had come up playing to 4s of people. And you and I were
and not only
that,
but there were 4 people that didn't pay to come see comedy. There were 4 people that ordered a steak and shrimp at the coffee shop, and they got a free ticket to the show. And you walk out, and all you see when you walk out is just arms folded, you know, pissed off. You shall not pass. You won't get a laugh out of me. And you know, and that was every night. How to crack that code, how to get them to loosen up, to put their arms down, to loosen their butt cheeks, whatever the hell was wrong with them, you know?
Yeah, you said if you can, and I believe this too, because one of my favorite sets I ever did in LA was at the Improv Lab for like 9 people. And you said if you can get 4 people to laugh in unison in a room of 4 people, then you know, that's a sign of a great comic. That's a sign of great material. That's a sign of being funny. So you were sort of trained for that moment. You had all those awful day jobs in Vegas, and you found yourself in this situation. You made the most of it. You found yourself 15 years, you know, later, you know, but you've become, like you said, sort of part of this pantheon and legacy of the show, and the support of it. I've seen it. You have, what is it, over 600 5-star reviews already, and you've only done like 4 episodes, so it's absolutely incredible. And you just had Doug Stanhope on, right?
Yeah, we're up to 5 episodes. The latest one is an interview with Stanhope for about an hour, who was the guy who kind of made it out of Vegas when I started doing comedy. He was the guy we were all talking about, you know, hey, Stanhope did it, we can do it. And
yeah, no,
and he was a big inspiration
and
for
he's
us,
but know? he's like you know, a sort of like an anomaly in space, a supernova. Like
Yeah.
there's never been anything, but no one could pull off a checkered suit. Even when checkered suits were in style, no one pulled it off the way that he quite does. So this is what I wanted to say also about the episode. This is what really stuck with me. And again, like I said, like a lecture, I have all these notes. So one day maybe I can catch up with you about it again, because there's so much I wanted to. But the thing that I really loved about it the most was in your journey, the thing that really drove your decision was family. Family being the most important thing. Wanting a better life for you, wanting a better life for your wife and your kids, not only because of what was happening in Astoria with the protests and with the anxiety that your kids feel. I know my kids feel it just from being in virtual school and just from being in lockdown, but you had the protests and then the streets getting locked down and super spreader events, and you just sort of wanted to get out of there and you wanted this better life. But you also mentioned as a comic, you were hustling so hard that, you know, you're gone from Thursday through Saturday, and then your family was getting you on Sunday. You were bitchy, you were grumpy from being on the road, because we do have fun, but it's a lot. And so
Hey, listen,
really,
you're cramming yourself into planes, rental cars, trains,
right.
you know, whatever it may be. Your body is so sore by the end of. And for me, I had a day job, so I was gone all day Monday
Right, you're
through
Monday through
Friday.
Friday, but yeah.
And then Friday, a lot of times I would just leave straight from work to the airport and fly out. And, you know, when you're married with kids and you can't be there to tag your partner out when they need to tag out,
Correct.
you're coming home to a shitstorm, man, whether you like it or not. It
Oh
doesn't
yeah,
matter
there's my
what.
wife, but you know, oh my God, yeah, no,
It doesn't
believe
matter
me.
what you come back home with gift wise. Oh, I found the softest socks in the gift shop, and they don't give a fuck.
Oh,
The
I've
fuck
tried
out of
that
here.
one.
Yeah, we've all tried it. You know, that's what we do. We're comics. We come home with gifts to say, you know, I'm sorry I haven't been here. I'm sorry. Not to mention, it's not like we're welders leaving for the weekend.
Right, we're not
You
making the
know,
world a better place.
right? Not only that, but it's like it's not the hard. I can see from my wife's point of view. Oh, he just sits around at a club and drinks and smokes, and then makes people laugh and people kiss his ass afterwards. And I'm here stuck like Chuck with two kids who aren't listening because they miss their dad, you know, and so
Wow.
the pandemic locking everything down,
Yeah.
shut down going into the city, it shut down flying anywhere, and all of a sudden here I am reconnecting with these strangers, you know.
Now that part where you reconnected with your family, and it really, you know, I'm a sensitive, you know, I'm musical theater jazz hand sensitive. So, yeah, that part really resonated with me. I just loved that you made that decision. And I love that now that you've moved to this area in Alabama where you've moved to, you're in the suburbs like me now, like I was talking about at the beginning of the show. So, Shuli, I guess what I wanted to ask you, it's more of a funny question, is when you tell people who don't know that you've moved to Alabama, do they realize that you live in a beautiful house, or did they assume that you and your family live in a shack behind the Piggly Wiggly?
You know, it's funny because it was a real eye opener for me regarding work and like people's perception of where I moved to. Like they didn't ask, they just assumed that. And here's one of the beautiful things about Huntsville, Alabama. Anybody who lives in Alabama, especially in Huntsville, will tell you, they'll tell you there's Alabama and then there's Huntsville.
Oh,
And
okay.
so Huntsville is kind of like a Nashville / Austin, right? There's a lot of
Ooh,
happening shit. It's getting bigger by the day. 5 years ago,
wow.
my buddy who lives out here was trying to get me to buy property, you know, and it's been booming ever since. So for me, it was an eye opener. But the locals here, they love that. They tell me all the time. They go, tell them we're all toothless, we're all fucking each other. That's fine. Keep them over there. Keep them there. We don't need them. We don't want them.
No, didn't you say on the podcast you're the most in shape guy there? You know what I mean?
In
Like
my crew, yeah, in my
you're an
crew of friends out
Adonis.
here, I was on the road with my buddy Cassio. He's the morning guy here
Yeah.
in Huntsville, and a funny comic, Matt Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
And me and him were in Atlanta doing a gig, and we're in the hotel room. We ordered a large pizza, and I think I ate 2 slices. I may have not finished. Yeah, I got down towards the end of the second slice, and I couldn't do it. And he looks at me, and he goes, "You gonna finish that?" And I go, "Nah, man." I go, "I'm full." He goes, "That's why you're skinny."
You're making good choices, Shuli.
Yeah,
I
well,
tell
no,
you,
it was
you
more
hear a
like
lot of bad
a
things
put
about you
down.
Jews, but you're making solid decisions about your
Yeah.
intestines and your guttural gluten zones. No,
Please,
that
being thin here is like scarlet letter out here, man. You're really outing yourself when you're in shape out here.
Shuli must be real depressed.
Yeah.
No, but that's actually really cool. I can't wait to see it one day. That actually really makes me happy, and I love that. That's a really well, in Philly, what we say in Philly is that in Pennsylvania there's Philadelphia, there's Pittsburgh, and then there's Pennsylvania. It's just trees and NRA members and Proud Boys. Russell, tuck in your necklaces. You know, I used to wear these
Yeah.
out, you know, and it's like,
Yeah.
whoop, you know, because, you know, your
I
boy
just
was
yelled at a
bringing a
guy.
quap up there, you know.
I just yelled at a guy because I asked if there were any Jews, and he clapped. And I go, "What the fuck is wrong with you? Are you an idiot?" I'm like, "Why don't you draw a map to your fucking house, you moron?"
Google map it, you motherfucker. What, you got a
Yeah.
smartphone or an undereducated? Okay, so this is what I was going to ask you.
Can I
So,
just share my favorite? Can I just share my favorite Philly story real
oh
quick
no,
with
you
you?
can share anything you want, Shuli. I'm just so excited that you joined us.
So we're doing like a big group show. It's a bunch of us, Artie, Levy, DePaulo, a bunch of us, and
Ooh.
we're at the Electric Factory,
Ooh.
right? Which is the home of death metal, not so much comedy.
Yes,
And
also, side note, Shuli, that is right in the same parking lot as what was my uncle's nightclub where I worked most of my young years. In Shampoo was the nightclub in the same parking lot as the Electric Factory. So I had access to all of that. I saw every concert you can imagine there. Oh my
yeah,
God, go on, please. Yes.
so everybody's going up to a firing squad. Everybody apparently had bought tickets to scream the most awful shit at us that they could think of. They didn't care about jokes. They didn't care about stories. They
Yeah.
were there to heckle us, all 2,000 people, right? And it's like, and I mean, I know DePaulo was up there and he closed early, and his closing line was, "I hope you all fucking die on the way home. Good night." So I come out on stage, and I haven't even touched the mic, and everybody's screaming, but one voice cuts through all of them, and it's a woman in the second row in a wheelchair. And I've always said this when I tell this story. If that doesn't tell you what cocksuckers Philly is,
Yeah.
they don't even give them the first row. They're like, "I was here first.
Yeah.
Take your break off, back up." You know,
Don't
like,
get in the way. Don't bother
right.
people.
And so she's screaming at me, this woman who I don't know and I've never met, and she's screaming at me, "You fucking suck. I hope you fucking die." And I lost it, man. I got down on my knees so I would be eye level with her.
Oh,
She's
right,
sitting
of
down in her
course.
chair. And I go into the mic and I just go, "Now I know why your spine is broken."
Ooh.
I go, "'Cause you're a fucking cunt." And 95% of the room went, "Okay, now
Oh
this
yeah, no,
guy's
this is
good.
he's one of
Something to
us.
say." So that's Philly in a nutshell for
Oh
you.
yeah, well, when I was growing up, Shuli, I'm so excited to tell you this, that you know Stern was on 93.3 WMMR every morning from 5 in the morning until 10 in the morning, pretty much.
Right.
So, and then I got arrested when I was younger in high school, and I had to be a trash man in the town I got arrested in. So I already loved Stern, okay, but I had to do this community service. And they had never seen a Jew in their life, these trash men who had to take me around.
Well, they've seen Jews. They've just never seen them picking up trash.
Yeah, no. And they kept asking me where my tail was, and I told them my
Yeah.
horns were detachable. And the thing that really brought us together was listening to Sir.
Yeah.
And me hanging off that truck and doing all this stuff. And you said, when you were in the episode of your podcast, you said, look, when I'm doing this shit, I'm thinking, what do I want to hear in my dump truck on a construction site? And I mean, it blew my personal, my personal backstory. It just blew my mind because it was the one thing that got us all on the same page. Was Stern.
I agree. And I had all those odd construction jobs, plumbing, electrical, drywall. And the only reason I stayed at those jobs as long as I did was because I could listen to the show while I was there. So for me, when I joined the Howard 100 news team, I'm not a reporter. I'm not going to break any news. I'm not going to have sources. But what I can do is make something funny for the plumber driving home, and give him something funny to listen to, because that's what I would want.
Yeah, no, it was incredible, and that was a moment where I literally had to pause the episode. I just absolutely loved it. So if you haven't heard it, you have to hear it. So speaking of episodes, I love all the episodes so far, but the one that I would say besides the pilot is my favorite is the one where you had your awesome parents as the guest stars, and you told them for the first time that you had moved on from the Stern Show to the SHULI Show, and to get their reaction. So I've heard the episode. Of course, they have the accent and the ch, and
Yeah.
so my question for you is, first of all, if you haven't heard it, you got to hear it. But what surprised you the most about their reaction?
Well, it was episode 2, and they knew that I was starting a podcast, but they didn't know that I quit the show to do that. And so that was the big hook for episode 2, was I was now going to tell them on Zoom that I was leaving the show, that I'd left the show, not leaving, but left. And they took it surprisingly well. They really surprised me, because they are, I grew up in a sea of negativity with those two. They are a tag team of bad news. They can't wait to deliver that shit. They can't wait. So, I'll tell you, like, we were visiting them a couple years back when I was doing shows out there, and it's morning where I'm up, my girls are up, my wife's up, and my dad's up. And we're all at the table, and my dad's taking a sip of his coffee, and the first words out of his mouth is he goes, "Did you see a woman was raped in Disney World?" And I'm like, no, good morning. That's what we're opening with? Rape? And now I got to explain, I got to make up a ride called Rape that my daughter's not going to want to go on.
Is there any Danish?
Yeah. Thanks a lot, dude.
No, and I loved, first of all, the fact that they of course I have parents overbearing, big personality parents, but when your father was like, "Shuli, if you're happy, we're happy," it was like sort of joyful. It was like that joyful moment, because I think it felt like you, the host, who were sort of narrating the cuts, were like bracing for something else, and that was really great. And then
this is the same guy.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead. What were you saying?
No, I love also, though, that he goes, "But I have been speaking to your wife. I told her not to encourage this."
Yeah. Like, they're happy for me for about, it's about the same span of time a goldfish memory lasts. And then it's back to, have you looked in the want ads? Have you looked This, I remember quitting when I quit. I didn't quit. I got fired. I failed the drug test when I was a blackjack dealer, so I got fired. Which, I'll tell you this story real quick. In Vegas, they come to me and my buddy, who was actually my weed dealer out there. Shout out, Matty. What's up, buddy?
Matty.
Anyways, they tell us one night we work 3 a.m. to 11 a.m. and they said
Whoa.
as we're leaving tomorrow, you guys have to take a drug test. And in Vegas, and they could ask you to do random tests for whatever reason, but in Vegas, the casinos, they don't do piss tests for the most part. They do hair tests.
Hair tests,
and
right?
Hair test is like a Twitter timeline. That motherfucker goes back. That goes back.
Yeah, it knows if you had an antibiotic in 1987, motherfuckers.
Yeah, dude. So my buddy Matt goes, listen, and this is back when I had hair, right? And my buddy Matt goes, he goes, listen, my friend is a stylist. She did this for a buddy of mine. She stripped and bleached and dyed his hair, and it killed all the chemicals in his hair. And it's $100, and he passed the test. And I'm like, we're fucking doing it. We left.
Fuck yeah.
We went to her salon. She did it for both of us. I go home. I go to sleep. I wake up at 2 to get ready to go to work. And I walk by the mirror and I look, and I have eggplant colored hair, like a golden girl, like Estelle Getty. And there's nothing I can do about it, and I go into work, and then I get off work and we go to the clinic to go get tested. And I'm sitting across from this woman whose job it is to sift through the bullshit that everybody gives her. And I'm just sitting here talking, blah, 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 blah. And the whole time I'm talking, she cannot take her eyes off my hair. She's just staring at my light pink, purple colored hair. And then finally, there's a minute where I stop talking. She goes, you ready? And I go, yeah. And I lean forward, and she takes the hair from my arm. She didn't even touch my head.
Oh, my God. You were the 5th asshole that day.
So not only did I fail the test, but I look like an asshole with bad hair.
Right, and then you were a wheelchair pusher right after that, after a blackjack dealer, correct?
Yeah, that was after the blackjack dealing thing. I was a wheelchair pusher, which you think is helping handicapped people, but it's really just pushing fat people who are too lazy to walk to their grave.
But not from Huntsville, Alabama. They're not as fat as you think. We've learned a lot. So I have 2 more quick questions for you, Shuli. Is that cool?
Yeah, because I got to run back in. No problem.
Okay, so the first of my 2 questions is, the other person that you worked with during your time at Sirius Radio was the legendary comic and actor Jay Thomas. And you appeared on his radio show. You did gigs with him. And my actual favorite show and sitcom in real life is Cheers. I actually still watch it all the time. I'm going to watch it after this show tonight. So my question for you is, did he by any chance ever give you any good stories about that? Because you've told a lot of good stories about Jay to me and on the podcast already.
I mean, he got fired from Cheers. He got killed off from Cheers by going on the radio and talking about how ugly Rhea Perlman was.
I didn't know that. Oh, my God.
Yeah. Oh, he was like, I don't know how anybody can kiss her. He's like, I got to kiss her. And he's telling the story of how horrible it was to kiss her. And next thing you know, he gets run over by a Zamboni on the show. And he's gone.
Oh, I thought they just did that because it was funny. I've not learned a lot about behind the scenes of Cheers because I don't want it to fuck it up for me.
Yeah, no, I understand. But and you're right. It was funny, both on screen and off screen when you hear the story.
I always just thought a bunch of Jews came up with that in a room over deli. You know what I mean? Like, so. Oh,
well, they did when they said Rhea Perlman threatening to quit. Yeah.
But I remember watching him on HBO, so your stories about him were great, especially in the pilot episode about what you learned from him, about not giving a fuck. And also, when he yelled at you about being from Stern, he said, look, I don't want you coming in here doing jokes where the punchline is cunt. I want my listeners to think of the word cunt.
Without you having to say it, yeah. And
that was
some deep shit.
That was really neat, though, and working clean is its own discipline. Okay, last question. I already prepped you for this before the show. On your Twitch channel, which I believe is Shalom Shuli TV on Twitch, correct?
Correct.
You play Call of Duty and other games with a bunch of other comedians, like our former guest Mike Feeney and Brendan Sagalow, Ian Finance, amongst others. So I will ask you the same question that I asked Mike Feeney about your comedian crew. Who is the biggest baby? Name names.
Well, last night I was playing with Bad Mood Ian, so he was definitely a big baby.
Oh!
But I will say, to me, one of the qualities of being a baby is not taking responsibility for when you screw something up in the game.
Okay.
So that, to me, would make Mike Feeney the biggest baby in the crew.
Oh! Shots fired!
Hey, he has yet to make a mistake in that fucking game, and it drives me nuts because he's made them, and he doesn't want to admit them, and I got a problem with it, and we're going to fucking dance, Feeney. We're going to dance.
You want this action, Feeney? This is great. This is the kind of shit. This is exactly what I was looking for, Shuli. And you
I'm a real Jew. I will pay someone to fight you. Don't
cage
think I
match. Ladders. Fucking top rope, motherfuckers. Mean Gene. So, Shuli, thank you so much for joining us while you're in the middle of your gig. Your double album, Shuology, is amazing, and your podcast, The Shuli Show, is available. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Shuli before he goes back on stage.
I love you, buddy. Thanks, Russ. Love to the family. Thanks for letting me on, man.
I love you. Tell TJ Miller I love Deadpool 1 and 2 and Ready Player One.
You got it.
And Silicon Valley. All right. That was awesome. That was awesome. Guys, I really think that was great. You know, I used to make radio show cassettes for my friends who were at summer camp longer than me after I left camp. So this is kind of like doing that, but with my comedian friends. So give it up one more time for Shuli Eggar, ladies and gentlemen. Subscribe to his podcast, The Shuli Show, and definitely listen to his album, Shulogy, wherever you get your comedy albums. Thank you for joining us on Season 3, Episode 1 of Philly Comedy Club and Last Out Media's The Russ Gutin Experience on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcast. Give it up, ladies and gentlemen. All right.